Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to see Star Wars Episode 7 by now, but there's a whole bunch of stuff happening around Episodes 8 and 9. We actually know a little bit about what's going to be going on, because Rian Johnson and Colin Trevorrow, the guy who's directing Episode 9, have already started to tease some stuff. Some of this will sound familiar as the way they plot the movies through 8 and 9, and it plays into some of the Rey theories. Now, just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen Episode 7 yet. I'm also going to be referencing some things from The Flash Season 2 with respect to Wally West. That series just has some baby daddy drama going on, just like there is with Rey in the Star Wars franchise. So the Wally West character is kind of like the Rey character, in that they come from broken family situations. So first big thing, John Boyega confirmed that Episode 8 totally going to be darker than Episode 7, just like Empire. Sounds very familiar. A little bit more exciting, new locations, but it's not like they're going to take the Falcon to car wash. Everything is still going to look like the Star Wars universe. It's just that we're going to be going to different places. The cinematography is going to be different, but it'll still be hardcore Star Wars. All of you that had complaints about Episode 7 mirroring too many story beats from A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, it seems like Episode 8 is going to address all those. Now, obviously, it's the middle film in a trilogy, so I'm still kind of expecting it to stay within Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, so there'll be certain things that might seem familiar, but I don't think it'll overtly pay homage to specific sequences from the previous films in the way that Episode 7 did. The narrative is still very much classic hero's journey. I don't expect it to deviate from that. But just like my Yoda, Luke Skywalker picture here, I totally expect Luke to become the Yoda character, more like Obi-Wan in a Yoda context, as he was in Empire for Luke Skywalker. Seeking a great warrior, are you? Wars make not one great. So cue the Rocky training montage, and the same thing for Kylo Ren with the Knights of Ren. I think that'll actually be really exciting. We haven't seen a whole lot of Sith training outside of the expanded material. We saw, like during the Clone Wars, you did see a little bit of that, but it's not like we ever got to see Darth Vader training in his Sith powers. That's actually, if you've been reading the Star Wars comics, they really get into that, what Darth Vader did, like when he learned that Luke Skywalker was his son, how he pursued him across the galaxy. So if you didn't know that, that's actually a really interesting recent addition to the canon. Darth Vader learned Luke Skywalker was his son before Empire Strikes Back, before that movie picked up. So in that same vein, Luke Skywalker knows exactly who Rey is, but Colin Trevorrow said that we probably aren't going to find that out. We aren't going to get the big answer till Episode 9, which is a big deviation from the original trilogy. If Episode 8 were following Empire beat for beat, then we'd totally learn who her father was at the very end, and it'd be some crazy twist. It'd be like Supreme Leader Snoke, I am your father. I'll say there are a lot of great theories out there. The two that I am most open to is that she is somehow descended from Obi-Wan, and more likely that she is Luke Skywalker's daughter. I know a lot, I've seen a recent theory too about her name, about her full name, that I think is really good. I don't necessarily think it's true, but I think it's pretty cool. A lot of people want her full name to be Kira Rey Skywalker, so that her name would literally be King of Light Skywalker. The name Rey translates to king, so already she would be King Skywalker, which I think is pretty cool. On the other side of that, Ben named after Obi-Wan Kenobi. So just as poignant, but in a slightly different way, just invoking classic Ben Kenobi. The real twist of Episode 8, I think, is going to be Rey challenged by the dark side. That was one of Luke's big tests of Empire Strikes Back. Did he choose the easy path and go with his father? He could have said yes, instead of screaming and falling down the shaft. Like I said though, I don't think it's going to be a beat for beat repeat of Empire Strikes Back. So Rey will be tempted in some way, in some slightly different fashion, and we'll have to overcome that. What about Finn and all the other characters? There's also some other characters that they're casting, some big female roles too. So they're not just bringing back the characters from Episode 7, they're bringing in a bunch of new big ones too. Finn, Leia, Poe Dameron, all those Resistance characters will continue to fight the First Order, but just like Empire separated the characters, I think that Rey is going to be separated from Finn and Poe Dameron for a while too. But I do think of them as the new Trinity. Moving into Episode 9 territory though, Colin Trevorrow had a bunch of quotes, so I'm just going to read this first one about Rey. We're going to make sure that the answer of her parentage, is deeply and profoundly satisfying. Rey is a character that is important in this universe, not just in the context of The Force Awakens, but in the entire galaxy. She deserves it. We'll make sure that that answer is something that feels like it was something that happened a long time ago, far away, and we're not just telling you what happened. So the thought is, if Rey is important in a galactic context, in the way that Luke Skywalker is important, she might cross over into another trilogy, just in the way Luke Skywalker went from the original trilogy to this new trilogy. So Rey might be connective tissue with a lot of other stories that they'll spin out after Episode 9, but that's really just the surface. I think a lot of it will have to do with the way we understand the Force and the way it binds the galaxy together, the cosmic Force. So what they're teasing is that the answer to who Rey really is going to fundamentally change the way you understand Star Wars, which I think is really awesome, but it is a hard target to hit. It is not like bullseyeing Womp Rats in a T-16. Everybody just breathe a sigh of relief and remember that this movie isn't going to come out for a long time. Episode 8 is still a year and a half away, and then another 2 years after that for Episode 9. So they have a long time to finish this. They don't have to decide how they're going to answer that question for a long time. But I bet dollars to donuts that J.J. Abrams, Kathleen Kennedy, like all the people in charge of Star Wars at the beginning, had a pitch for Rey. Even if they hadn't completely figured it out, they had a loose idea. So I want to look at the notes from that initial Rey pitch meeting by the time we see Episode 9 and see how much changed from their initial pitch. Because a lot of times they'll start with an idea and then 6 years later it'll change a lot. And I laugh a little bit, but you guys may have heard about the petition to remove Colin Trevorrow from Episode 9 as director and replace him with George Lucas. Bring George Lucas back.
There are petitions to bring George back. How do you react to those petitions?
It was funny. I saw that, I think it was yesterday, and it was on a day where I was at Lucasfilm giving this big speech to everyone about how we want to channel the invention and just the raw creativity and the boldness that George brought to these films. And that's something that I'm so focused on, and not being afraid that we're going to embarrass ourselves by doing something that might be crazy, because when George Lucas made Star Wars, a lot of people thought it was crazy, but it's the greatest story ever told.
I hadn't laughed that hard in a while. I feel like people feel like the change.org petitions do something. Generally, they're not very effective, so I wouldn't recommend wasting a lot of energy on that. The people behind Star Wars will only fire the director if they feel like he can't fulfill his initial promise, because he had to pitch them his idea for Episode 9 before they ever hired him. And even on top of that, Rian Johnson, the guy who's directing Episode 8, wrote Episode 8 and 9. It's not like Colin Trevorrow is writing Episode 9. So even if you hate him as a director, don't worry, there are a lot of other people. It is going to take so many people doing so many bad things for Episode 9 to fail. Worst case scenario, I feel like what's going to end up happening after Episode 9 is done is people will be like, well, it's not quite as good as Episode 8. It'll be just like Return of the Jedi. It's not quite as good as Empire. But Return of the Jedi is still a really good film, so I think Episode 9 will be just fine. I don't think there's anything to worry about, especially now, especially this far away. But I love the idea that Rey is going to change our fundamental understanding of the Force in the Star Wars universe. That is such a Babe Ruth home run shot to call. So let me know in the comments, what do you guys think that Rey is going to change about our understanding of the Force? Do you think it's going to be kind of like Jason Solo, where he gains the ability to harness the unifying Force, where it becomes like this super Jedi? That's kind of where I think they're headed with it, where she's able to ascend to this higher level of being. I explained a little bit about Force ghosts and Force spirits in my last Star Wars video, so I'll put a link in the description. They kind of explained that during the Clone Wars The Lost Missions. If you haven't seen them, check it out. In it, Yoda learns how to make Force ghosts. And then obviously after Episode 3, he teaches Obi-Wan Kenobi how to become a Force ghost. And the other big news that I almost forgot to mention is the Han Solo movie. They're casting a young Han Solo. They've got it down to, I think, less than 12 actors now. None of them seem particularly exciting to me, so I'm just going to wait and see until they whittle it down. It's going to take a couple more weeks before they find one, but they'll totally announce it. And the reason why they're doing this so soon, because the spin-off Han Solo film isn't going to happen for a couple more years, is because they think the person is going to cameo during Rogue One. The thought is that it's going to be a Spider-Man, Captain America Civil War situation, maybe in a much more minor way. Young Han Solo showing up in a cameo in Star Wars Rogue One. It's just a rumor right now, but if they announce anything, I'll totally do a video for it. Don't forget that Star Wars Rogue One is coming out this Christmas. We're getting Star Wars every single year for the rest of time. So while you guys wait for my next video, you can click here for all my Star Wars Easter egg videos, and you can click here for the Deadpool trailer I posted earlier today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.